AITA for making my ex regret turning down my proposal because I had no future. My name is Matthew, and I was with Rebecca for almost 7 years. 7 years is no small thing. When you spend so much time with a person, you stop seeing them just as your partner. They become part of your routine, your decisions, the way you imagine the future. That was Rebecca to me, or at least that is what I thought. When I met her, her confidence caught my attention. She was a determined woman, the kind who always knows what she wants and is not afraid to say it. At first, I loved that. While other people beat around the bush to express an opinion, she was straightforward. If she liked something, she said it. If something bothered her, she did too. I interpreted it as maturity. Over time, I discovered that it was not always maturity. Many times it was simply harshness. Rebecca was not a particularly patient person. She had a hard time tolerating other people's mistakes and had an almost unhealthy obsession with the idea of progressing. Everything in her life was measured by that word, progress. Better salary, better car, better apartment, better contacts, better vacations. You always had to be stepping up, and for a long time, I thought that was not a bad thing. I worked as a technical supervisor at a large manufacturing company in the Chicago area. My position was not glamorous, but it was solid. I had a good salary, stability, and above all, the peace of mind knowing that every month I could meet my responsibilities without any surprises. Rebecca, on the other hand, worked in marketing for a cosmetics company. She earned well, although it never seemed enough for her standards. At first, our arguments were normal, the typical ones of any couple: expenses, time together, family plans. But there was one topic that began to repeat itself more and more starting in the 5th year of our relationship: marriage. Every time we went to a wedding, Rebecca ended up in a bad mood. Every time a friend of hers uploaded a photo showing off a ring, Rebecca spent the rest of the day dropping hints. "Look, Taylor sure knew how to choose a decisive man," she would say. Other times, she would just look at me and blurt out, "7 years is enough to know if you want to get married or not." It was not that I did not want to get married. I did, but I wanted to do it when I felt everything was in order. I had elderly parents. I financially helped my younger sister, and I was also paying half the rent on the apartment we shared. I did not like taking such a big step, feeling that any unforeseen event could bring us down. But Rebecca did not think that way. "There is never going to be a perfect moment," she would repeat to me. Maybe she was right. The problem was that every time she said it, it was with less tenderness and more pressure. One night, while we were having dinner, she gave it to me straight. "Do you really plan on marrying me someday?" I looked at her. "Yes." "Then what are you waiting for?" I sighed. Total stability. Rebecca put her fork down on her plate and observed me with that expression of hers that always made me feel like I was taking an exam. "Matthew, you have been saying the same thing for years. Is it because you want to do it right, or because you have a hard time making decisions?" I did not answer. I already knew that tone. When Rebecca thought I was being slow, she immediately spoke to me as if she were evaluating my capability as a man. That conversation ended like many others, in silence. What I did not know was that in a few weeks, everything was going to change. I perfectly remember the day my boss called me into his office. His name was Mr. Hawkins, a cold, calculating guy obsessed with results. He was not someone you chatted with for fun. If he called you, it was usually for something important. I walked in, and the first thing I noticed was that he had several papers on his desk. "Sit down, Matthew." I sat down. He did not waste time. "The company is opening operations in Germany." I blinked. "Germany?" "Yes. A new plant. And we need someone to take charge of the startup of the technical area during the first few months." I nodded without knowing where he was going. Then he looked at me intently. "We are offering the position to you." For a second, I thought I had misheard. It was not a simple internal transfer. It was leaving the country indefinitely, a minimum of 8 months, as he explained, with the possibility of staying permanently if the project went well. The financial package was very good, much better than what I was earning. Housing covered, a company car, a relocation bonus, and a considerable raise. It was objectively the kind of opportunity that does not come twice. But my head did not fill with enthusiasm. It filled with doubts. My parents depended on me quite a bit for many things. My sister was finishing college, and I helped her with part of her expenses. Plus, there was Rebecca. "I need to think about it," I said. Mr. Hawkins rested both hands on the desk. "It is not a decision to think about too much. For me it is. His jaw tensed a little. This is professional growth, Matthew. I understand. Then also understand that the company needs people willing to move forward when the time comes. I did not like how that sentence sounded. It was a warning disguised as advice. I left that office with a weight on my chest. That night, as soon as I got home, Rebecca was on the couch looking at her phone. I looked at her. They offered me to go to Germany. She looked up suddenly. What? I sat in front of her and explained everything. The position, the salary, the conditions, the duration. For a few seconds, she remained silent. I expected questions. I expected curiosity. I even expected excitement. What I received was something else. You are not going to accept. I frowned. Excuse me? You are not going to accept, she repeated. I am not going to have a long-distance relationship. I stared at her. Rebecca, we are talking about a huge opportunity. We are talking about you leaving for almost a year. You could come with me later. She shook her head immediately. I am not going to leave my job to follow you. I did not say that. I said we could organize it. Her tone began to harden. I do not want to organize anything. I do not want a boyfriend a 10-hour flight away. I took a deep breath. It is important for my career. And there it was. The question that turned any rational conversation into an emotional conflict. Is it choosing between me and the job? Of course it is. She got up from the couch. If you go, this changes. I looked at her in disbelief. Are you threatening me? I am telling you the truth. She crossed her arms. I need someone present, not a boyfriend on a video call. She did not yell. She did not cry. And maybe that was what affected me the most. She spoke with a firm calmness, like someone who already has their position clear and is just waiting for the other person to yield. That night we argued for almost 2 hours. I tried to explain to her that it was an opportunity that could secure a better future for us. I tried to tell her that 8 months go by fast. I tried to convince her that a 7-year couple should be able to withstand something like that, but Rebecca did not move an inch. If you go, I do not know what is going to happen with us, she said at the end. And that sentence, although not an explicit breakup, sounded close enough. I slept very little. The next day, I went to the company with my head a mess. Mr. Hawkins called me before noon. Your answer? I swallowed hard. I am going to reject the offer. His face changed. He did not seem surprised. He seemed disappointed. I understand, he said coldly, but he did not understand, and I did not yet understand the real price of that decision either. During the following week, the atmosphere at the company became weird. My boss stopped including me in certain meetings. 2 coworkers mentioned to me that Mr. Hawkins was looking for people with an international mindset. I did not want to get paranoid until 8 days later when I was summoned again. This time, there was also a woman from Human Resources. At that moment, I knew nothing good was coming. Mr. Hawkins spoke with mechanical neutrality. The company is entering a different stage, and we need profiles aligned with our new goals. I felt an immediate emptiness in my stomach. The Human Resources woman slid some documents toward me. Your position is being eliminated effective today. I froze. You are firing me. We are letting you go, Mr. Hawkins corrected, as if the word changed anything. I did not even have the energy to argue. I signed. I gathered my things. I left the building where I had worked for almost 9 years feeling like the floor had just been ripped out from under my feet. It was not just losing a salary. It was losing structure, routine, security, identity. That afternoon I got home earlier than usual. Rebecca was in the kitchen. She saw me come in and frowned. What happened? I looked at her. I was let go. Her expression changed to surprise. What? For rejecting the Germany thing, I guess. She stayed silent for a few seconds, then walked over and touched my arm. Well, you will find something. I nodded slowly. For a moment I thought she was going to hug me. She did not. Instead, she asked, are they going to give you a good severance package? I looked at her. Yes. I guess you need to move fast then. I did not answer. Matthew, you cannot stay still. I know. Because it is one thing to lose a job, and another to start moving backward. That word, backward. She did not say, we are going to get out of this. No, she did not say, I am with you. She said move backward. And I do not know why, but I felt cold, because for the first time I had the feeling that Rebecca was not seeing my problem as our problem. She was seeing it as my flaw. The days after the layoff were strange. I automatically went into survival mode, updating my resume, calling old contacts, checking job postings on LinkedIn, sending emails, attending interviews. I did not want to allow myself even a week of self-pity because I knew the more time passed, the worse everything would look. But while I was focused on that, I started noticing something about Rebecca. She did not argue. She did not yell at me. She did not make scenes. And yet there was a new distance between us. It was a silent, almost clinical distance. She spoke to me like someone conversing with a person being evaluated. Did you send more applications today? Yes. And did they reply? Not yet. You have to be more persistent. It was not support. It was supervision. One afternoon we went out to eat with a couple we were friends with, Scott and Lindsay. They had planned to see us for weeks, and I did not want to cancel. I thought it would be good to clear my head. At first, everything was normal. We talked about silly things, the traffic, the price of gas, a series everyone was watching. Until Scott, with no bad intentions, asked, "And how is work going, Matt?" I barely opened my mouth to answer when Rebecca answered for me. "He is in transition." I looked at her. She smiled a small smile and added, "Let's just say he is rethinking his next move." Lindsay let out an uncomfortable laugh. Scott changed the subject, but I felt something unpleasant. It was not what she said. It was how she said it, as if she were covering up secondhand embarrassment. When we left the restaurant, I mentioned it to her. "You did not need to answer for me." Rebecca walked looking straight ahead. I just avoided an awkward moment. "You made it more awkward." She sighed. "Matthew, I also do not want people to think you are aimless." I stopped. "I am out of work, not aimless." She barely turned. The line is very thin. We barely spoke that night. And it was at that point when I started asking myself something I had not allowed myself to think about until then. Did Rebecca love me? Or did she love the functional version of me? Because as long as I was the stable, useful, predictable man, everything was fine. But it only took one shake-up for her to look at me differently. Even so, I went ahead with something I had been preparing for months. The marriage proposal. Yes, it sounds absurd in retrospect, but you have to understand one thing. I had organized that night before losing my job, before the Germany issue, before everything started to go wrong. And besides, Rebecca had been pushing for it for over a year. She did not want an intimate or discreet proposal. She had said it many times. No doing it alone on an empty beach or in the living room at home. I want something beautiful, with family, with photos, with people. She always talked about it half joking, half serious. I took it as a clear sign of how important it was to her. So I had booked a private room in an upscale restaurant downtown, talked to both our parents, invited siblings, cousins, and some close friends. I even had a photographer. I had bought the ring 3 months earlier. And even though after getting let go, I had huge doubts about canceling everything, a part of me thought that maybe that moment could help us. Maybe formalizing the engagement would bring back our sense of being a team. Maybe Rebecca needed proof that I was still betting on us. Maybe, I repeated to myself, this is just a rough patch. Now I know that sometimes you do not see the cracks because you are too busy trying to hold up the wall. A day before the dinner, Rebecca asked me while putting on makeup in front of the mirror, "Is the dinner with everyone still on for tomorrow?" "Yes." "Are your parents going too?" "Yes." "And mine?" "Of course." She nodded without much enthusiasm. I expected at least a spark of excitement. There was none. She just said, "Good, nothing more." That neutrality unsettled me. She did not look like a woman thrilled for a special night. She looked like someone fulfilling a social obligation. I slept terribly. The next day, I woke up early. I checked 20 times that the ring was where it was supposed to be. I confirmed with the restaurant. I confirmed with the photographer. I confirmed with my brother that he would bring my parents. Everything was ready. I arrived an hour early. The room looked perfect. Warm lights, impeccable tables, discreet flowers, aligned glasses. I had spent more money than I should have, if I am being honest, but at that moment I wanted it to be memorable. The guests started to arrive little by little. My mother hugged me upon seeing how nervous I was. "Relax, son. It is going to be fine." I smiled at her without much conviction. Then Rebecca's family arrived. Her father patted me on the back. "About time, huh?" I laughed out of politeness. Finally, Rebecca appeared. Simple black dress, hair tied back, red lips. She looked beautiful and distant. She greeted everyone politely, kissed her mother, hugged Lindsay, gave me a short kiss on the cheek, and sat down. Not a long look, not an accomplice smile, nothing. The dinner began. Appetizers, wine, crossing conversations. I barely touched my food. Every so often I touched my pocket to feel the ring box and remind myself that it was still there. My brother gave me gestures of encouragement from the other table. The photographer already knew the cue. Everything was set for after the main course. But as the minutes passed, Rebecca looked increasingly disconnected. She looked at her phone under the table and answered with monosyllables. When her mother asked if she felt well, she said, "Yes, just tired." I started sweating. For the first time, I seriously thought about not doing it, inventing an excuse, postponing it, but it was already too late. Everyone was there for that, even if they did not say it. After the main course, my brother looked at me and discreetly gave a thumbs up. It was the signal. I felt my heart pounding against my ribs. I stood up. At first, no one noticed. Then my father stopped talking. Then Lindsay saw me. In a matter of seconds, the volume of the entire room dropped. I took a sip of water because my throat felt dry. I want to say a few words. My voice came out less firm than I wanted, but loud enough. Several people smiled immediately because they understood what was happening. Rebecca looked at me. She was not smiling. That threw me off, but I continued. It has been almost 7 years together, I said. 7 years where we have learned, argued, built, and also survived many things. I noticed my mother getting emotional. Rebecca's mother already had a hand on her chest. I am not the perfect man, I continued. But if there is one thing I have always been clear about, it is that when I imagine my future, you are in it. I looked directly at Rebecca. She remained motionless. No surprise, no tenderness, just a hard, almost impatient expression. Inside, something told me stop. I did not, because sometimes pride also pushes you to finish what you started, even if a part of you already knows it is going bad. I took a deep breath, took out the box, and heard excited murmurs. A cousin of hers said softly, "Finally." Several people took out their phones. I knelt in front of her. I opened the box. The ring sparkled under the room's light, and I uttered the question I had rehearsed 100 times. "Rebecca, will you marry me?" There was instant applause, cheers, my mother crying. Lindsay covering her mouth with her hands. Everyone celebrating before even hearing the answer. Everyone except Rebecca. Because Rebecca did not move. She did not reach out her hand. She did not smile. She did not cry. She just looked down at me with a coldness that froze my blood. The applause slowly died down when people noticed that she remained silent. I waited a second, 2, 3. Then Rebecca spoke, and the first thing she said was not no. It was worse. "Did you really think this was the time to do this?" I felt the whole room hold its breath. I blinked. "Rebecca." She let out a short, humorless laugh. "You do not have a job. You do not know what you are going to do with your life, and you come to put on a show." Silence fell like a stone. I did not understand. Literally, my brain took time to process. "What?" She leaned back in her chair. "Matthew, this is ridiculous." I heard my sister mutter, "Oh my God." I was still on my knees, motionless, holding the open box like an idiot. Rebecca looked me up and down, and then said the phrase that made my face burn. "I am not going to get engaged to a man who is going downhill." Several people froze. Her mother's eyes opened wide. Her father said, "Rebecca," but she raised a hand to silence him. "No, Dad, let this be clear right now." She looked at me again. "You have been unemployed for days, and you have not resolved anything. And your solution is to bring me here to pressure me in front of everyone." I felt something inside me start to break. "This is not to pressure you," I managed to say. "Of course it is," she interrupted. "Why did you think that with an audience I would feel obligated to say yes?" I shook my head in a daze. "No, I thought that." "Exactly," she said coldly. "You thought wrong." The photographer had already lowered his camera. No one was recording now. No one was moving. I slowly closed the ring box, but still did not get up. Not out of romanticism, but out of shock. Rebecca took a deep breath and added, with a voice perfectly audible to everyone, "I need someone who makes me move forward, not someone I have to wait for while he pieces himself back together." I heard my mother cry harder. My brother stood up abruptly. "Hey, that is enough." But Rebecca continued without even looking at him. 7 years, and you are still acting like everything is a matter of time, she continued. "Sometimes it is not a matter of time, Matthew. Sometimes it is a matter of capability." Capability. She said it as if she were grading me. And at that moment, I understood that she was not simply rejecting me. She was humiliating me in front of my family, hers, our friends, the restaurant staff, everyone. I stood up slowly. I did not feel nervous anymore. I felt something else, a mixture of shame, anger, and brutal clarity. I stared at her. You could have told me this in private. She shrugged. You wanted to make it public. I clenched my jaw. 7 years, Rebecca. And what? She replied without blinking. Time does not turn just anyone into a good bet. At that point, I heard several people let out a murmur of discomfort. My father stood up. Her mother was already on the verge of tears, but I kept looking at her, and for the first time in many years, I was not seeing my girlfriend. I was seeing a stranger. I do not know how to explain exactly what happens inside you when humiliation exceeds a certain limit. It is as if the brain stops trying to save the situation and simply accepts that everything is broken. That happened to me. Until that moment, I was still trying to understand her, to look for a reason, to convince myself that maybe she was nervous or reacting badly. But when she said I was not a good bet, something changed. Because she was no longer speaking from anger. She was speaking from contempt. And contempt does not appear out of nowhere. Contempt takes time to grow. I looked at her for a few seconds. The whole room remained silent. Then I spoke. Do you know what the most ridiculous thing about all this is? Rebecca barely frowned. That tonight exists because you asked for it. Some heads turned toward her. I continued. You wanted a big proposal. You wanted family. You wanted photos. You wanted everyone to be present to have the perfect moment. She crossed her arms. Do not change the subject. No, I am clarifying it. I took a step toward her. I have spent over 3 months organizing this. I spent money I should not even have spent to give you exactly the scene you always described. Rebecca let out a dry laugh. Well, you chose the worst possible moment. And that is where my patience died. No, I replied. The worst moment was discovering in front of everyone the kind of person you are. A general murmur was heard. Rebecca narrowed her eyes. Be careful how you speak to me. I let out a humorless laugh. Be careful. I pointed at her with the ring box in my hand. You just destroyed me publicly, and you are asking me to be careful. My brother took a few steps closer, in case he had to hold me back, I think. But I was already completely calm on the outside. That kind of dangerous calm that appears when you stop wanting to fix things. You talk about moving forward, I continued, about progress, about capability, as if one bad week defined a person's worth. Rebecca responded immediately. It is not a bad week. It is a sign. A sign of what? That with you, there is always waiting involved? I slowly shook my head. Incredible. She lifted her chin. It is the truth. No, the truth is something else. I took a deep breath and said something I never thought I would say in front of so many people. The truth is that while I paid for rent, food, trips, and practically every major expense of this relationship, you were delighted to wait. Several people gasped in surprise. Rebecca's eyes widened. Do not you dare. Yes, I dare. My voice rose. Because since you wanted public honesty, we are going to have public honesty. Her father muttered, Matthew, calm down. But it was too late to calm down. I looked at her without looking away. For years you got comfortable with me solving everything. There was always an excuse for you to save and for me to cover the difference. Always a reason for me to put in more. My capability never bothered you when I was the one keeping up the pace. Rebecca took a step toward me. That has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with it. I pointed at her. Because as soon as I stumble once, you treat me like defective material. Her breathing quickened. I do not want to be stuck with someone with no ambition. My brother blurted out, no ambition? He rejected going to Germany for you. Are you crazy? The whole room turned to Rebecca. Her mother closed her eyes. I went on. Exactly. I rejected a huge opportunity because you told me that if I left, our relationship would break. Rebecca answered quickly. I did not force you. No, you just backed me against a wall emotionally. She shook her head. That was your decision. Yes, I admitted, and it was my mistake. Those words carried weight because they were true. My mistake had not been losing my job. My mistake had been believing that sacrificing myself for someone guaranteed loyalty. Rebecca was red with fury. You are playing the victim, and you are revealing yourself. We stood looking at each other. Then she said with even greater contempt, I deserve a more solid man than you. There was a collective gasp in the room, and I smiled. Not out of joy, out of disbelief. Perfect, I said. I put the ring in my pocket. I nodded slowly. Then, go and find him. Rebecca blinked. I do not think she expected me to stop fighting. What? You want me to go and find him? I took a step back. Because you just did me the biggest favor of my life. Her expression changed for the first time. She no longer looked dominant. She looked confused. When people who enjoy being in control feel like they are losing it, it shows immediately. I turned to everyone present. Sorry for bringing you into this. My mother was crying. My father's jaw was tight. Rebecca's mother told her in a low voice, I cannot believe what you did. But Rebecca still clung to her posture. You were just walking away that easily. I looked at her one last time. I am not walking away easily. I am walking away late. I grabbed my jacket from the chair. She walked behind me. Matthew, do not dramatize. That phrase almost made me laugh. Dramatize. After the scene she had just caused. I left the room without looking back. I heard quick footsteps behind me. It was Rebecca. In the restaurant hallway, she grabbed my arm. Wait, we need to talk. I pulled away. You have talked enough. You cannot leave like this. You just said in front of 40 people that I am not enough for you. How am I supposed to leave? Her tone changed. It was no longer so firm. She was upset. I stared at her. No, I was being honest. That left her quiet for a second. I just did not want to accept this right now with all the work stuff. So you would say no, and we would talk at home. She swallowed hard. I did not think you would react like this. I let out a brief laugh. Interesting. You humiliate me, and the problem is my reaction. She tried to get closer again. Matthew, do not throw away 7 years for a bad moment. That phrase gave me an almost insulting clarity. 7 years. The number of times we use invested time to justify staying in something broken. I slowly shook my head. I am not throwing them away. You just showed me what they meant to you. I turned around and kept walking. She did not insist anymore at that moment. I drove home in complete silence. I did not cry. I did not yell. I was too empty for that. When I walked into the apartment, I looked at every corner differently. The couch we picked out together, the photos, the dishes, the absurdly expensive throw pillows she had bought. Everything looked like an old stage set, and I made an immediate decision. I took 2 large suitcases out of the closet. I started packing all her clothes, shoes, bags, makeup, chargers, documents, everything that was clearly hers. I did not break anything. I did not throw anything out the window like a crazy person in a movie. I just packed with a surgical coldness that was scarier. 40 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Rebecca. I opened it. She saw me surrounded by suitcases. What are you doing? I am saving you time. She blinked. Matthew. I slid one of the suitcases toward her. Your things. Do not be ridiculous. Ridiculous was what happened an hour ago. She tried to walk in. I blocked her path. No. Her face changed. This is my house too. I looked at her. No. This lease is in my name, and I have been paying it for 3 years. You just lived here. That hit her like ice water. Are you kicking me out? Yes. She stood motionless. For the first time since the restaurant, she looked genuinely scared. You cannot do this to me in the heat of the moment. I could have proposed in the heat of the moment too, according to you, right? Matthew, stop. I shook my head. It is over. I kept leaving the suitcases one by one in the hallway. She started crying. Real tears this time, but it was too late. I am sorry, she said. I am sorry, I crossed the line. I did not answer. I did not mean for it to come to this. I did not answer either because I already understood something essential. People always say, I did not mean for it to come to this, when they discover they lost more than they calculated. Not when they hurt, but when they lose. Rebecca tried to grab my hand. I pulled it back. Call your mother, Lindsay, whoever you want, but you are not sleeping here tonight. Her breath hitched. Are you leaving me? I looked at her with a calmness not even I recognized. No, Rebecca. I paused. I am returning you to the market so you can find that more solid man you deserve. Her face distorted between anger and crying. I closed the door. I heard her knock once, then again. Then silence. I leaned against the wood and closed my eyes. I did not feel triumph. I did not feel immediate relief. I felt a bitter mix of grief and liberation. Like when a bandage that has been stuck to your skin for too long is finally removed. The following weeks were a circus. Messages, calls, emails, crying voice notes, then insulting voice notes, then indirect social media posts talking about fragile men. The funny thing was that her own family did not back her up. Her mother called me to apologize. Her father did too. Lindsay stopped talking to her for a while. Apparently, many people at that dinner saw the exact same thing I had taken years to accept. Rebecca was not in love with a person. She was in love with a projection of success. And the day that projection cracked, she treated me like a devalued asset. 3 months later, I got a job at another company, not in Germany, not with a miraculous salary, but enough. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something better than stability. I felt peace, because I understood that losing a job can hurt, losing money can be scary, but building your life with someone who measures you by your performance, that can slowly destroy you without you noticing. And I was about to marry that. Luckily, Rebecca decided to show me who she was before I said yes for the rest of my life. Comment. Hey everyone, after sharing this story, I just wanted to speak from the heart for a moment. I truly believe that knowing your own worth is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. Never be afraid to set healthy boundaries in your relationships. You deserve someone who chooses you, even on your difficult days. Real love and respect should never make you feel like you have to constantly prove yourself. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is choose your own peace. Taking responsibility for your happiness is a sign of strength, not weakness. Healing begins the moment you decide you won't settle for less than you deserve. I hope this encourages you to reflect on the relationships in your own life. Remember, you are worthy of kindness, patience, and genuine support every single day. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.